Hi guys, welcome back for episode number 45 of the weekly playback. As you might be able to tell from my bookshelves here, my bookcases, that I have started removing board games. I've removed a bunch from my calyxes, well, one calyx, which is in front of me, and then a why can't I talk today? A bookcase from the side as well. I've, removed some board games from there as well, and have started packing them up into boxes, and my apartment is a disaster zone right now. So yeah, you're going to see these shelves become more and more bare as time progresses and we get closer to my moving date. So yeah, that's that explains the empty spaces. So anyway, so this past week I only got to play one board game, which was quite sad. That's not even a board game I own, but it was the second time I've played it, and that is Colosseum. So Colosseum is a 2007 game. There are two different editions of this game. There's the Days of Wonder edition, and then there is the Tasty Minstrel Games edition, and both of these are going to be out of print because the Days of Wonder edition is out of print, and then Tasty Minstrel Games went out of business, so obviously theirs is out of print as well. I believe the Days of Wonder edition came first, and that has artwork that looks more classical and it looks more, I don't know, nicer, to be honest. The Tasty Minstrel Games edition, the artwork is a bit more cartoony. But they play the same. As far as I can remember, they play the same, because the first time I played this game was over a year ago, and that was the Days of Wonder edition, and then yesterday I played the Tasty Minstrel Games edition. So again, it's a 2007 game for 3 to 5 players, designed by Wolfgang Kramer and Marcus Lubke, and there's a bunch of different artists. So this is an auction bidding game. There's dice rolling involved, there's set collection involved. So I'm just going to read the description, and that will give you an idea of what the game is about. So in Colosseum, each player is a Roman impresario, producing great spectacles in their arena in hopes of attracting the most spectators. Players earn wealth and glory for each event run, using it to create even ever more ambitious events. They will need to improve their arena, find the best performers, lure the emperor and his nobles, and manage assets for long-term success to be granted the title of Grand Impresario, with tales of your extraordinary spectacles acclaimed throughout the empire. So it's going to be a big board. I'm just going to maybe scooch over a little bit so I can hopefully post some pictures. So it's going to be a really big board, and on this, there's going to be spaces going around the board along which the emperor and the nobles will move depending on the dice numbers that come up, and all the players will get to move the emperor and the nobles. And on those, along this track, I'll just call it a track, there's going to be your arena. So each player is going to have an arena somewhere along this track, so that the emperor and nobles may be able to pass through your arena, which you definitely want them to do. You want them to stop in your arena so you can get even more points when you put on a performance. So if I remember correctly, there are 6 rounds in this game. So how it begins is each player has the opportunity to first buy an improvement of some kind. So you can either expand your arena, because your arena starts with only 2 sections, and by the end of the game you likely want to have 4 sections so that you can put on larger performances, because if you buy a larger performance tile, those will require 4 sections in your arena, but you start with 2. So you can either expand your arena, you can buy a new performance tile, and you start the game with 2 performance tiles. You can buy an Emperor's Loge. A loge is the thing that will be put in your arena. You can buy it just once, but it will last throughout the game, and it will allow you to roll 2 dice instead of just 1 when it's your turn to put on a performance. And I think that's it. I think those are the only 3 things you can do. I might be forgetting something. But yeah, and then you go to the bidding phase. So each player starts the game with some of these little tiles which have icons on them, and those are what you need in order to put on performances. So each performance tile is going to have a list of, hopefully I have some pictures here, have a list of requirements of which icons you need in order to put on a performance. You don't need all of them, but you definitely want to have all of them if you can, because that will give you the highest value for that performance. Now, scoring in this game is not cumulative. So let's suppose, for an example, I put on a performance that is a value of 20 in round 1. Let's suppose in round 2 I put on a performance that's a value of 15. I'm not going to add an additional 15 points to where I am on the round tracker. I will just stay put. You don't go back, but you also don't move forward. You only move forward if your performance value is higher, and then you will move to the next value of what that performance was. It's not cumulative. You're not like, so let's suppose my first performance was 20 and then my next one is 25, then I'm going to move up to 25. I'm not going to move up to 45. So that's important. So at the end of the game, whoever had the highest value performance throughout the game will win. So, you know, even if that performance was before the last round, but no one was able to pass you, then you would win. So if you put on a performance of 80 in the second to last round and no one was ever able to pass that, then you would win. After the upgrade phase, then you have the bidding phase. You're going to have in the center of the board 3 tokens in each section, and the active player starts bidding, and I believe you have to start bidding at 8 coins. You do start the game with 30 coins in hand. And then you, if you as the active player win the section that you started bidding on, then it gets replaced immediately. You know, new tokens get drawn from the bag. But if not, then new tokens do not get drawn from the bag. So after everyone has gotten something, and you know, if you're not the active player and you outbid others, which I kept on doing in the very last round, I was actually the last player in this 3-player game in the last round, and I kept on outbidding the other 2 players because I had a crap ton of money. So I ended up winning a lot of tokens, but it didn't really do me any good in the end. But if you as the active player run out of stuff to bid on, then the whole thing gets refilled. so eventually they will get something. So you can't like leave with nothing. So after the whole bidding phase and everyone gets tokens, and then you go to the trading phase. During this phase, the active player can initiate trades with other players. You can trade tokens for tokens, money, you know, so you can try to trade tokens for money or money for tokens, whatever. You're trying to get the tokens that you need to put on these performances. Everything is open information, so you can see all the tiles that people have. You can see which tokens they have. You can see which performances they're trying to put on. So I would say personally that I don't think trading usually goes very well, because especially like towards the end of the game, like people may have the tokens that you need and they might not be using them, but they have nothing to gain. They only have, you know, something to lose because they might lose the game, so they're not going to trade with you. So then after trading happens, then there is the performance phase where each player will roll 1 or 2 dice and then move the, you know, nobles around the board and hope that they land in their arena, because that will get you more points. So as an example, let's suppose you had a performance that was worth, you know, if you had all of the tokens for it necessary, it was worth 30 points, let's say. Let's suppose that prior to that, you had successfully completed 2 performances. You flip over the tiles and then they're worth an additional 5 for subsequent performances. So let's suppose I had a base value of 30 for the current performance I'm putting on. Then I had 10 from 2 previous performances, so 5 for each of those. Let's suppose I had a couple podiums. So you get a podium if you put on the highest value performance in a round. Podiums add an additional 3. And let's suppose I had the Emperor in my arena at that time, that would add an additional 7 points. All of these points are actually coins that you will be collecting at the end of that performance, and that will be money that you will have, you know, to be able to spend in the next round on bidding and improvements in bidding. So each performance you put on can be upgraded by all of these different things. In addition to that, there are some tiles which are like tiles that allow you to trade them in for medals, and medals can give you an additional 3 for your performance value. You can trade it in for money for 6 coins, or you can trade it in, I believe, for an extra buying thing or something like that. So medals can be valuable. So yeah, so that's basically the gist of the game. You are trying to collect these tokens, trying to trade with other people's. You're trying to bid on, you know, tokens that you need in order to put on higher and higher value performances. in the last round, so I've played this game twice, and yesterday when I played it at a 3-player game, in the second to last round, I did really well. So I had a lot of money, and I was the last player to go in the last round, and I kept on outbidding the other 2 players on tokens, but it was not enough for me to get what I needed. So I had maybe foolishly bought the highest valued performance tile that you can buy earlier on in the game. It was like called the Emperor's Coronation or something like that. But for the life of me, I could not get any lions. So by the last round, I was like, I think 4 items short of what I needed to put on a full performance. I didn't have any lions, and I didn't have something else that I needed. So my base value was 30, and by then I didn't have any emperor or any nobles in my arena. You know, I had 3 podiums, so that was an additional 9 points. I had 15 points from previous performances I had put on. And also, additionally, if you can't put on a new performance, you can always just redo a performance that you already have. You'll just not get the additional 5 points that you would have had from having it flipped over. So you're just, you know, you can redo performances that you've already put on. And I did do that I did do that early on in the game. But by the last round, I didn't have any nobles in my arena. They had moved on because my opponents finally decided to move them, because for a couple rounds in a row, I had the Emperor, which is worth an additional 7 points. But even with 2 medals, no, actually in the end, I think I only had 1 medal left. So with an additional medal and 15 points in my podiums and everything, I was not able to, you know, get the highest value performance. So someone else had the highest value performance in the game. By the end, their performance was valued at 80 something, and my highest valued performance was at 64, and then the other one was at 66. So for a while, it seemed like I was going to be winning because I had higher value performances than either of them earlier on in the game. But by the end, they could see what I needed, and no one would trade with me, so I didn't get, you know, the higher value that I needed. It's a really fun game, but, you know, like I said, everything is open knowledge, so you can see what other players have, and they may or may not want to trade with you. So yeah, but it's a fun game. You know, it may be hard to get your hands on, but, you know, there may be a new edition of this game coming out someday, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I know something about that, but maybe I don't. So I'm not gonna say more about that, but, you know, all hope is not lost if you want to play this game. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, so it's a fun game, and if you can get your hands on it someday, you know, you should definitely check it out. Yeah, so I would play it again. Again, the different art editions, I think the Days of Wonder edition looks nicer, but they play the same. So, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not sure it's a really that much of a big deal. Okay, so that was the only game I happened to play in the last week. So let's move on to games that I am backing. So I am only backing one game, which is a game I had covered for its Kickstarter, and that is called The Fog: Escape from Paradise. So I'll link the video below that I did for this game. It's like a racing game, so I'm backing it at the €1 level so that I can get my production copy of it. But I thought it was a really good racing game where you are islanders and you're trying to fill up the ships, and you're trying to, like, you know, fill them up in a certain order as well, and you are, you know, jumping over other islanders, and the fog is like going to consume the island and kill anyone who gets left behind. It's a pretty tense game, and I actually really enjoyed it. So, you know, that's on Kickstarter right now, so I'm backing that at the €1 level. Games I'm culling, of course, I'm not going to be doing that for a while until I move into my new place and can, you know, more effectively see what I want to cull and what I want to keep. So let's move on to games I received. So I'm going to be covering this game for Crowd Games. It's called, now I hope I don't butcher this name. I don't know if it's Sigillum or Sigillum. The Bestiary of Sigillum, maybe? This is like a kind of like a tactical kind of combat game, kind of. So it can be either 2 or 4 players. So it says, in Bestiary of Sigillum, Players take on the role of summoners in the kingdom of 2 castles, controlling a band of 3 immortal legendary characters. Each player will try to develop the best strategy I cannot talk today, to destroy their opponent's castle. To succeed, they must wisely use their characters' abilities and take controls of the catapult towers. Players should think through every move carefully, keeping an eye on their opponent's actions, and choose characters paying attention to their strengths and weaknesses. So you're going to have a board, and you're going to have, I think these are like some of the different characters. I really like the artwork, so that's why I agreed to cover this game, because the artwork just really appealed to me. So let me just show you some of these. Yeah, so you're going to have different characters with like different strengths and weaknesses, and you're going to have a player board depending. So if you're playing 4 players, you're going to be, if you're doing 2 players, it's just 1 versus 1. But if you're 4 players, then you're going to be playing in teams basically. So here is a board. Now, honestly, I don't know exactly how it plays yet, but I will figure it out. so I think it's going to be like one of those games where you're going to, because this is just a prototype edition, so the actual production value copy is not going to have this like wooden thing with these tokens in it, but you're going to have like your different characters, and I believe you're just going to be like, on the board, doing everything on the board, kind of like another game I had covered earlier in the year, which was called that Japanese one, Senjutsu, kind of like that. I think it's going to be kind of like a game where you're just moving stuff around on the board and trying to destroy your opponent. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to playing that at 2 players. I'm probably not going to play a 4-player game of this, but again, this is a prototype edition, so just keep that in mind. So what else? So I don't have any questions to answer, so I thought it might be fun, or maybe not, I don't know, to go and look at all the Kickstarters that I have outstanding and see which ones I still have not received. And what inspired this was I started seeing that people have I see that people have started getting their copies of Flamecraft, that they backed, and I still haven't gotten my shipping notice, but some people in America have, and I'm very impatiently waiting for it because I just really can't wait for that game and all the cute little dragons. So I thought maybe it might be fun to go through all of my Kickstarters that are still outstanding and tell you which ones I have outstanding, which is maybe not that many anymore, I think. But yeah, so the question I have for you is, what is the oldest Kickstarter game that you still, or crowdfunding, or not, any crowdfunding game that you still have outstanding? My oldest one is Adventures in Neverland. That is the oldest one that I still have outstanding. And that was from I think 2020. So that was the one where I had the lowest backer number I've ever gotten. I'm backer number 2 on that, and I'm not even sure it's a game that I'll actually really love, but we'll find out. I'm a huge Peter Pan fan, which is why I backed it, but yeah, I'm backer number 2, and that is my oldest outstanding Kickstarter right now. Then after that is, let's see, Endless Winter, but I actually ended up selling that, so I'm not going to count that anymore, but that would be the next one. I actually ended up selling my pledge of Endless Winter. Then after that is Four Humors, which is a game I really, really cannot wait for. Then after that is... I'm only doing games, by the way. I have some other stuff I backed on Kickstarter, but those are not games. After that is Night Market from Talon Strike Studios. Then Everdell, some of the expansions, like the last couple expansions. Then we have Kiwi Chowdown, and I think that was on Kickstarter just this year, or maybe not. I can't remember when that was on Kickstarter now. Was it last year? Maybe it was last year. Kiwi Chowdown, and then Chai Tea for Two. Now, I just want to make a comment about Chai Tea for Two. I see people are extremely upset with the publisher because they seem to just be terrible at communicating and stuff like that. So, I'm just someone who simply just covered the game, but I, feel bad for everyone who feels that they've been, swindled by this publisher, and, it's unfortunate. I do think all publishers need to be better about, putting out updates. Even if you don't have good news, bad news is still news, rather than just leaving people in the dark. So it's unfortunate that, you know, this publisher is losing a lot of goodwill for their silence, and a lot of people are just really upset. But yeah, so chai tea for two. Then the next one is Mosaic, A Story of Civilization, but I think they're going to start shipping out soon. Then there is Buru, then Ice, then there is Tranquility, the Ascent. I don't have the original Tranquility. Ooh, then there's Spires and Hildegard. I really hope this gets delivered before Halloween, because the artwork is just so autumnal, I guess I'll say. Like, it just reminds me a lot of autumn and Halloween, and I just cannot wait to play it. So yeah, Spires and Hildegard. Then the next one is Oros, Be an all-powerful demigod in an ever-changing, ever-shifting world. Then there is Top Pop, which is another Talon Strike scheme. And then Flamecraft, which I mentioned already. Then Solar Sphere, which is a pretty cool space-themed game. Then there is Dog Park, but I just got an update today saying that, you know, shipping in America will start soon, so that's good. Then there is Quests and Cannons, The Risen Islands. Wow, I really cannot read or speak today. Then there is Don't Go In There, and I heard from my mom that I finally received my copy. So what happened was my original copy seemed to have been stuck in limbo somewhere, so I finally reached out to the publisher, and they decided to send me another one finally, because the last one was stuck in limbo for like a month. Like, the last update was on August 1st, and then it just disappeared. So they shipped out a new one to me, and it arrived to my mom's house, so I'm going to pick it up this weekend. So I'm super excited about that. So yeah, Don't Go In There. Then there is Birdwatcher, except that should be arriving by next week. I think I already got the shipping notification for that, so I'm excited for Birdwatcher. Then there is Senjutsu, Battle for Japan. Then Honey Buzz Fall Flavors, super looking forward to that. Then Weather Machine, which is going to be my only Vital Lacerda game when it arrives. So yeah, because you know, if you guys watch my videos, you'll know that I'm probably not ever going to play another Vital Lacerda game. I'll try to, you know, play Weather Machine a couple more times, since I am getting a production copy of that. But you know, I just don't think his games are for me, probably. Then the next game is Hike, a card drafting racing game with huskies. Then there is Finding Anastasia. Then there is Mind Management Secret Mission. So if you guys watch my previous videos, you know my issues with the designers of the game. But I still backed the expansion just because I'm a completionist and I just wanted a complete game, but I'm not sure I'll ever end up playing it, just because of, you know, how I've been treated by the designers, but who knows. So yeah, there's Mind Management. Then there is the Tabletop Find It book, which was like a book someone created that you could made of a different bunch of board game components, and you could try to like find different things. Then there is Tangarden Seasons. Then there is Hamlet, the village building game. Then there is Tiwanaku, and then Feralis, Obscure Land, then Broken and Beautiful, then Flip Town, then Skyrise. Oh, I seriously cannot wait for Skyrise. So now we're definitely in this year, like the last couple of months, because Skyrise was very recent, like a couple months ago. Then Septima from Mind Clash Games, which I'm super looking forward to. And they just announced yesterday a game going straight to retail called Astra, which is about constellations and auction bidding. And it looks amazing, and I really want to get my hands on Astra. Then there is Dice Throne, Santa vs. Krampus. Then the Grand Carnival expansion. Then Moon by Håkon Garter, which, as you all know, I'm absolutely love. So cannot wait for that. Sunshine City was a print and play, so I think we already got the files for those, but I haven't printed and played them yet. Printed and played. Then there is Drop Bears, but I only backed Drop Bears so I could get the updated components for the Ratcatcher. So not Drop Bears, but like the updated stuff for the Ratcatcher. Then there is Moonraker's Titan, and then Bog Chal, and then Primordial Secrets. And so yeah, then we are up to date. So yeah, so those are all the Kickstarters I have outstanding. My oldest being Adventures in Neverland from 2020 or 2019? I don't even know when that game funded. It was a really long time ago. I wonder if it was 2019 actually. Let me check. I'm just going to click on it and find out, because that is a really old one. I'm just going to go back all the way in their updates and find out if I can go that far back. Well, while I'm doing this, I do have some news. I am going to be working in the board game industry after all, but I'm not going to mention for who yet, because as you guys know, the last time I had a job, it was for Fantasia Games, and then I lost that job when the whole TGG Games frog issue happened and I would not take down my video for tournament fishing. So I actually lost my Fantasia Games job just because of some stupid comment made by some random idiot on Reddit. So Fantasia Games decided that they just didn't want to deal with any negative, attention like that, even though it was one comment on Reddit. So I lost my Fantasia Games community manager position. But I have now acquired a new marketing manager / community manager position for a publisher whose games I do enjoy, but I'm not going to mention which publisher yet, so I'm just kind of keeping it quiet for now. But yeah, so I'm excited about that. I'm excited to be working with this publisher and hopefully increasing their, online presence, because, they really need to work on community building and just community engagement, so that hopefully their next Kickstarters will perform better, like 6 digits or better. So yeah, so I am working for a publisher starting yesterday, September 1st. So that is exciting news. So it's good to be having a little bit of extra income. But again, I'm just going to keep it under wraps for now. Like, I'm just going to keep quiet about which publisher it is for now. But it is a publisher whose games I've played and I have enjoyed them, and I would, classify their games as mid-weight Euros, which are basically my jam. So it's a really good fit for me. So I'm really happy about that. So yeah, so Adventures in Neverland actually funded in 2020. So April 2020. So yeah, so that is my oldest outstanding Kickstarter. So let me know what your oldest outstanding Kickstarter is, and then hopefully when I'm back next week, I will have a lot more games to talk about. So I'm hoping to play all of these games, which I have waiting for me to be played now. I don't know if my English is just totally messed up today or what, but I think that sentence was correct. Waiting for me to be played. Me to be played. No, they're not waiting for me to be played. They're waiting to be played by me. So there we go. That's better. Okay. So yeah, so I have all these games waiting to be played by me. So hopefully I will have them to talk about next week, which is like Life of the Amazonia and this Bestiary of Sigillum, if that's how it's pronounced. I don't know. Yeah, and a couple others. Oh my God, stupid Alexa, or actually I think it's Siri. Anyway, so until next time, hopefully my, speaking ability will be better next time. Okay, so anyway, until then, bye.